Shadows faces the CHAIRQUISITION. This is a game developed by Relic Entertainment and ported by Feral Interactive. It's on the Essence Engine 3.0. It's priced at £34.99, $39.99 US wet stinkies, and $43.99 filthy Canadian dirt dollars. And what is it? Powered by the Essence 3.0 engine. Company of Heroes 2 features some unique mechanics rewarding thoughtful players, from the TrueSight system that emulates the unit's line of sight to a cover system that encourages clever unit placement. The game presents players with an uninterrupted stream of meaningful tactical choices that can turn the tide of a war. And Feral gave us some keys for this. This was supposed to be a review last week, but they've solved the problems, and now we're talking about it this week. So, it faces the CHAIRQUISITION! And of course, as always, 1 chair means that it's garbage, 2 chairs means that it's meh, 3 chairs means that it's pretty good, and 4 chairs means shut up, take my money, it's amazing. And we have our categories of Doom, mixed with the working, shiny sounds, controls, and fun. And what's that? We have a player 4 this week. It's Strider, creator of Lutris, who's wearing a towel on his head, and I'm going to avoid making...
It's not the towel, it's the blankets.
Whatever. Let's kick this off. Mixed with the working, Ven, how to do.
How'd it do on the octa-core 8150 AMD? We're going to be saying that a lot, along with disclaimer, AMD. 4K display, 980 powered, Ubuntu 1404 LTS box of the business. Well, here's the thing, Brad. It works, but poorly.
I
Don't
thought you were
worry.
going to do the, what do you call it? Indiana Jones. You chose poorly?
Poorly. I'm going to give it 4 chairs just because it's not broken. I mean, it does everything it says on the tin, but poorly. J-Baby.
Yeah, on the hex core AMD 1090T with the NVIDIA GTX 980 on... I have a couple NVIDIA drivers back, but they're still pretty recent. Running Fedora 2264-bit. It works reasonably well. There are a lot of performance issues, but that doesn't factor into mix with the working. That the game runs, all the options work, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to give it 4 chairs.
Yeah, there was a thing about that. I mean, frame rate is not exactly a graphics thing. It's a performance thing. That should probably we should start mentioning that in the mix with the working, but that's beside the point. If you want to play this game on an AMD processor, trust me, disable the Steam overlay. The in-game benchmark was very revealing regarding that particular fact. The rest of the game, last week, didn't work. This week, it actually did. I managed to play through the first couple of missions, so I suppose that's 4 chairs worthy on Aurora 21 64-bit with the FX83 70E overclocked at 4.2 gigahertz and the GTX 970 Strix. 4 chairs.
Okay, so I didn't have any problem running the game since day one. Running on the i7 4790K, and it could run better, but runs pretty well as it is. And I compared it to the Windows version. The 3.0 version of the Windows version, and it runs
Not Windows 3.1.
No, on Windows 8 and the version 3.0 of the game, and it runs with a difference of 6 FPS with the advantage in Windows. So not a great difference, but I'm the only one on the review with high-end Intel CPU. So that's what makes the real difference here.
So how many chairs does it get, Matthew?
So I'll give it 4 chairs because no real problem.
Good boy. Let's give him a round of applause, folks. No, I was
Give him
thinking
the high hand. The high
hand.
hand.
Yes, the high hand. The high... Dude, my hand is so high right now. No, we should get like the spoiler zone, except it's the AMD CPU zone graphics. But anyways, that's 4 chairs for mix with the working. Up next is the shinny and the sounds. So then, did it shin?
And did it sound? Boy, well, then let's just start out. No, we just got to say this. This game is hella CPU limited. We can take a look here. That this is high. This is what it detected running at 1080p. So I'm getting maximum 42 FERPs. Well, let's switch that over to 4K. Nope. Actually, I take that back. This is running at everything on Nope. So this is 1080p, everything cut down to Lego. And you're wondering, what are you thinking about? Is it using everything? Yes, it's multi-threaded like a mofo, but we're looking at the 8150 here. It's not maxing it out, though, now is it? But you're thinking, well, it's just not, it's maxing out your 980. Psst, wrong. 26% GPU utilization in that business. Now, I know the 8150 Black, even though it's clocked at 4 gigahertz, which is not technically an overclock because it has a speed boost to 4.2, it's not a great gaming CPU, but I don't have anything in my box out of the 300 and plus games I have right now that are really genuinely unplayable. And why did I have to just waste all your time with this? Because I had to put this thing down to Atari Jaguar settings. I mean, in order to just try to experience it. And it was pretty rubbish at that. I mean, graphically, at that setting where it's kind of almost playable, but not quite, it looks like a brown simulator, a brown glass of rewarm meh, because, I mean, let's face it, with everything on yellow swag, it doesn't look that great either. And a lot of people are looking at it going, why is this thing chewing up all this shit? I mean, it's not really doing anything fancy. And at best, it's just an overhead Petro simulator. I definitely got to say that. Thanks for throwing that in, J-Man. That threw me off. Graphically, like, putting it into your eye pussies, I would say ZAD almost is, like, more appealing when it comes to that business. And as for the sounds, well, I got to say this. After watching my FERPs constantly dip below 20 with a 980, the game gave me tinnitus, so I was unable to mothering him. So, what you think is like shiny and sounds? They work. That's all I'm going to say about it. They work. 2 chairs.
I mean, if you compare it to like another 3D RTS like StarCraft, StarCraft runs circles around this in the graphics department, right? As it stands, the game is your standard RTS little man simulator. You have your little dudes running around, so on and so forth. The details in the terrain, though, kind of bug me because it's supposed to have this really awesome cover system, except it's not really apparent if you don't pay attention to your little mouse track what kind of cover you're going to be getting. Things that seem solid aren't actually solid, so on and so forth. Yeah, and the performance is really, really terrible. I'm averaging about like 20 to 24 frames a second. That may be because of my 5-year-old AMD CPU, which Feral has had some issues with in the past. I don't know. The sounds are kind of meh. I don't know. Like, if the soundtrack is not really good, I just sort of tune it out and I don't really pay attention to it. The sound effects were about all right. Not really much else to say. It's really kind of meh, especially for like the price tag and for what's supposed to be AAA quality. Yeah, you're really only getting 2 chairs for this.
Yeah, the music got real fast. To give you some background, I spent most of my tweens playing World War II theme games like Medal of Honors and Call of Duties, the first ones that came around, and a bunch of others. So the moment I start to hear that marching rhythm with the horns and everything else, no. That got nope right then and there. From, the benchmark was kind of revealing last week. I couldn't actually play the game, but I ran the benchmark a couple of times just to test some settings, see if I could get something playable without having to look at the Lego simulator like Ven called it earlier. Everything looked brown. It's got a weird gray brown. It's not very appealing. When you get in game, it's actually slightly more colorful with the UI elements, but the game itself is still just brown, gray, mud, destroyed buildings.
War is not colorful.
Yeah, no.
It's colorful. It's really red.
I tried to watch some multiplayer games to see if, I don't like RTSs, so maybe if I see someone else who actually knows what they're doing play it, maybe they'll change my mind. Yeah, multiplayer is only Linux, so there was no one playing it on Linux, and I could not watch it. 2 chairs.
So yeah, the games run well enough to be fully playable on the A7. So we're talking about 30 FPS or above, between 30 and 50 FPS. So it's enough for RTS game. You don't really need to have those 60 FPS frame going on all the time. Other than that, the graphics look okay. They're not super colorful or anything, but then again, it's World War II themed game, not Nyan Cat's simulator. So there, of course, doesn't have any rainbows or anything, but looks good enough. Then again, yeah, it's for RTS game. You don't expect anything great, and the music, the sound effects, were okay. I didn't mind them. The voice acting were okay. The sound effects were okay. So I'll give it 3 chairs.
Okay, so that averages out to about 2 chairs for shiny and sounds. Up next is Control, then. Did you feel like you were in control?
This is your standard fare. I mean, it'd be kind of interesting. You know, we're going to get the Steam Areola controllers in our hand organs soon to see how this will translate. But what we're dealing with right now is reality. This is your standard gerbil and keyboard fare. Everything works. It's remappable and all that. But this is not necessarily a new rule, but this is a Venn rule. Any game that starts out with a standard mapping for my panning and tilting with the camera on the mothering arrow keys. Because, hey, are you playing it like this? I mean, unless you're left-handed, because that way, I'm left-handed, but I learned to use the gerbil with my right hand. So I got to remap all that. Anytime I have to go through that trouble just to play the damn game, you're going to lose a chair. But everything else, I mean, it completely works. It's just that extra bit of fuck you. That's why I don't like that. In all fairness, Dota does the damn same thing. And you immediately, because you want to hit Waz, that's where things should be, since they've been there since the beginning of time. Jay, baby.
Oh yeah, no, the control placement can be a bit questionable, especially with the arrow keys. It was funny too, because when I was testing out that open dungeon thing, I hit Waz to move the camera, and lo and behold, it actually worked. But one thing to note is that the camera is actually pretty fucky, because you can adjust like the height and the tilt and pan and whatnot. And if you fuck that up, the game is essentially unplayable, and good luck trying to find your original state for that. I've been informed by my roommate, who plays a lot more real-time strategy than I do, that all the standard keyboard shortcuts most RTSs have are there. And I mean, I tried them out. They do work, and they're sanely mapped, aside from the whole camera pan thing. So that is a thing. One additional note is that when you're running the game at 4K, it is really annoying to pan the camera across the entire fucking screen.
Drag the gerbil. Showtime.
Yeah, so, I mean, no, drag the gerbil. Drag the waters. I'll give it 3 chairs.
3
Controls
chairs
are acceptable.
All right.
Yeah, I suppose it controls like you'd expect an RTS game to control. It could use better indicators for where your units are going when you have multiple squads selected. It happened more than once that I'd have like 2 squads, and I wanted to move them behind cover, and you don't get the teeny tiny indicators on the ground to say, yeah, here they're in cover, here they're sort of in cover, here, yeah, they're just gonna get shot. But they could probably fix that, and it got a couple of my squads nope right then and there in the first couple of missions. So I'm gonna have to ding it a chair for that. Should be easy enough, but yeah, 3 chairs.
So yeah, I really can't complain about anything. I'm not really a big RTS player, but from the few I played, it's really similar from this one. Yeah, it gets a little bit to get used to the arrow keys when you're used to move with Waz, but yeah, that's playable. I didn't try to remap anything, so was pretty much okay with the default controls. I'll give it 4 chairs.
All right, so that averages to 3 chairs, 4 controls. And finally, the part that you've been waiting for. Fun, man. Did you enjoy yourself? Was it crap? Tell us about it.
Yeah.
Preach.
I like me some real-time strategy. You know, I was like, yeah, this is nice. We're going to have fun with it. And we're just going to start with this. Company Heroes 2 seems hella demanding for what it is. Hell, it's practically unplayable on my AMD 8150. Out of the 325 games, this is the only one that consistently fails to achieve 30 FERPs. Seriously, I'm not talking about 4K with YOLO, swag, and Dorito enabled. Nay, I'm talking 1080 with everything turned down to Lego. On average, I'm usually hovering around 24 and watching the slideshow. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's not exactly what I would call fun. Now, I'm not blaming Feral. It's not their job to rewrite the engine itself. Their job is to get it ported to Linux. And they did a good job because the Windows version runs like equal shite on AMD CPUs. But to put a bow on this, I guess what I'm trying to say at the end of the day, take a shot, is I don't know if the game is, air quotes, fun. Not because anything wrong with the game, simply because if I had purchased this, it would have been refunded in the first 30 minutes. So, I'm sorry, 1 chair.
See, I'm not the best judge for real-time strategy games, considering I hate them with the passion. I do not have the attention span to, like, track multiple skirmishes and coordinate them. That is just not my dice.
Fucker, you can barely play pinball.
Yeah. Oh, we'll get to the fucking pinball, man. Yeah, I mean, I played some Command and Conquer and StarCraft back in the day, but I never really got into it. I was never particularly good at it. I mean, aside from the horrendous performance issues, it looks like a competently done RTS. I mean, I did the first couple, or no, I did the tutorial mission, and I played a couple skirmish rounds. But when it's like, okay, capture all the points and then hold them for 20 minutes, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. You get maybe 10 minutes, you get the 15 minutes out of me to actually capture the rally points, and yeah, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. I just, when all is said and done, I didn't enjoy the game. It does not speak to me as a gamer. If you like RTSs, you might want to give this boy a shot, but $40 is pretty steep, and so I'd wait for a sale. And we're really we have no dearth of real-time strategy games under Linux, so I would say I'm going to give this 1 chair. I just didn't have fun. It's not going to change anyone's mind about RTSs.
Qualifier, I do not like real-time strategy games. I don't. I started the game and I'm like, okay, I know nothing about RTSs. Let's do the tutorial. Oh, there's a bunch of video tutorials, and there is literally 1 playable tutorial mission. Huh. Okay, I mean, it's been proven time and time again that people learn better by doing instead of watching other people do something. But maybe it's just me. Maybe I wouldn't need a tutorial if I was a real big, real-time strategy fan. But guess what, Brad? I'm not. And this game is doing nothing to change my mind. On Steam, according to the reviews on the store page, it has 78% of its over 19,000 reviews saying it's good. So take my opinion for what it is. Turns out that either Feral or Sega done goofed when setting the Steam depots, because when I redeemed my key from Feral that they left in their press area for me, since I was using the Steam beta, it tied my account to the free weekend depot. So that's the reason both me and Jordan could not play it last week. When I finally managed to play it, I finished the first couple of missions, and you know what? I didn't hate it. I'm not going to play any more of it, but as far as real-time strategy real-time strategy games that I've played go, it's not terrible. It did absolutely nothing to change my mind regarding this genre, but it wasn't terrible. 2 chairs.
It's your cordon bleu.
So yeah, I'm really not that good at this type of games. I mean, I started the missions, the campaign on easy, and I failed the second mission. I did get through the first, but the second one I played almost to the end, but then I got my ass kicked. But this doesn't make it a bad game. It's just me that just suck at this type of games. But yeah, I've tried a couple similar games, and from what I saw, it's done well. It's what you could expect from a RTS game today. So yeah, it does. I want to play some more of this, even if I don't. If I do suck at those type of games, I do want to get back to it and play a couple more hours, and maybe even try to finish the campaign if I can manage to do that. But so which means a lot, given I'm not a big fan of either RTS games or World War II games altogether. I don't know if this is something we mentioned, but there's no multi-platform multiplayer gaming going on because Feral couldn't manage to implement it because of the yeah, because of basic math, very specific to the platform. Like there were some libraries specific to Windows and libraries specific to macOS and Linux, so they couldn't get multiplayer working for multi-platform.
So Strider, if you had to put it in a nutshell, what would your opinion be on the fun factor of this game?
Yeah, altogether, it's pretty fun. I'll get back to it. I'll give it a couple more hours. So 3 chairs. 2 chairs.
All right. So that ends up being 1 chair for fun, and because no one did basic math before the beginning of the show, I had to do that really quickly. It's 2 chairs finally for Company of Heroes 2. So, gentlemen, final thoughts.
A couple things is something Strider pointed out, and I think it's a very real thing. If you're going to be dropping that much wet, stinky cash on this game, 70% of your fuck-mothering screen real estate once you start it should not be dedicated to try to sell you shit.
That's a very conservative percentage.
Like I said, conservative, more like 80 maybe. Not Feral's fault. Not Feral's fault. Sega's fault. I mean, it is just everything. Buy more shit. And all that. To mention Feral, we did have performance issues with AMD CPUs with Shadow of Mordor. But,
yes.
as I had to think of the notes, the performance degradation of Shadow of Mordor was smooth. It kind of gave you a slow-mo effect. You never got real choppiness, and it played itself off because a lot of kill attacks and shit like that in that game were slow-mo anyway, with your kill scenes and shit. You noticed it, but it didn't stop you to play it. This actually suffers from real-world herky-jerks on AMD CPUs. Feral knows this. If you go back to their Twitter, they bought some AMD CPUs, and they're like, oh, that's Feral. They're good people. They're going to look into this. I don't know if they can fix it. It's not really their responsibility to unfuck what Sega did. It's not. Their responsibility is to get it ported. One thing that, a lot of people, or I'll agree with P-Man, is multiplayer. I've started that thing 12 times. There is no one on there. And I didn't want to play multiplayer. I just wanted to watch other games. You can't even...
It gives you the option to watch other people.
Right. You can watch other people, but no one... it's only Linux to Linux. I can only imagine it's worse on the Mac side, but I have never seen anyone... And I wanted to do what Pedro was talking about, I want to see how this game's played. I want to watch some other people go at this. You're not going to be able to do that, so keep that in mind. P-Baby?
Yeah, no, you basically hit the nail on the head on this one. It's not Feral's fault that the game is designed to try and sell you DLC. That one's on Sega. That one's riding on Sega completely. From Feral's part, it's just... They have now bought a bunch of AMD processors and GPUs and a couple of new Intel processors and some new NVIDIA cards as well to enhance their Linux test beds. They kind of need to get those up and running and fix... Well, I wouldn't say fix this one, just fix Shadow of Mordor, please.
Final thoughts, Frenchie.
Yeah, and I there was this funny thing. I did some testing on the Windows version, and I
Betrayer, burn him.
I have Windows installed to the benchmarks.
Are you saying you surrendered to Windows?
Him, heretic! How dare you face the chairs?
And lies!
And I noticed this thing is that there is a beta of Company of Heroes 2 on Steam, which is the version we have on Linux, which is version 3.0. And this version has very little difference, at least on Intel, with the Linux version, as I said earlier.
Yeah, it's not exactly on parity, and you were talking about the beta thing, and this is something I want everyone to know. I mean, the main reason we brought Strider on is because we wanted to give a fair comparison to where he could explain how it performs with a high-end Intel CPU, and I mean, it does run, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it does run, and there's this thing, is there's the Windows version, the current version is version 4.0, and in Windows, it runs really better than version 3.0. So where is that version on Linux? That's the big question. Will Feral ports version 4.0 of the game on Linux?
Yeah, and I mean, like, what going back to Pedro's point about the multiplayer, Aspyr figured that out with Borderlands pre-sequel on day one, and that has a lot more shit going on, like,
But in all fairness, I mean, they were working with the Unreal 3 engine, which is far better known than whatever Sega poops out.
Yeah, this is like some custom RTS engine.
Right.
But, again, Aspyr figured it out. Feral has a lot more money than Aspyr. Feral has a lot more resources than Aspyr.
They're still working on it.
And at the end of the day, this is a game. If you like real-time strategy and you're on Linux, maybe check it out. Maybe hold off and wait and see if Feral can address some of the performance issues. If you don't like RTSs, you're not really going to have fun. So in short, Company Heroes 2, 2 chairs. Strider, 0 chairs because he has a Windows boot partition.